The Salem Witch Trials, which unfolded in the Puritan community of Salem Village, now Danvers, Massachusetts, in the late 17th century, remain a dark and mystifying chapter in American history. Commencing in 1692, this period witnessed a surge of fear, superstition, and mass hysteria related to witchcraft, ultimately leading to the execution of 20 individuals and the incarceration of numerous others. Similar to the Salem Witch Trials, we find parallels in modern society, like the QAnon movement. Through an exploration of historical accounts, this video aims to unravel the complexities and societal dynamics that shaped the Salem Witch Trials and their legacy in understanding communal fear and legal proceedings, and compare them to modern society and to draw comparative lines between these two instances, revealing the human propensity towards conspiracy and persecution across epochs. Salem, like much of Massachusetts in the late 17th century, was deeply embedded in Puritanism, a religious doctrine that permeated every aspect of daily life. The Puritans, having fled England to escape religious persecution, established communities in the New World, guided by their interpretation of the Bible, which informed not only their spiritual practices, but also their legal and societal systems. In Salem, adherence to Puritan values was expected, and deviation was met with disapproval, if not outright punishment. Daily life revolved around religious observances, with Sunday services being a focal point of communal interaction and spiritual reflection. In January 1692, strange and unexplainable behaviors began manifesting among two young girls in Salem Village, Betty Paris and Abigail Williams. The girls exhibited violent convulsions, outbursts of screaming, and trance-like states. Local doctor William Griggs diagnosed them as victims of witchcraft, kindling the spark that would soon ignite a widespread witch hunt. Over time, several other girls, including Ann Putnam Jr., began to exhibit similar symptoms, further fueling communal anxiety and suspicion. The first accusations of witchcraft were leveled against three women: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, a South American Indian slave owned by the local minister of Salem Village, Samuel Parris. These individuals, particularly marginalized in the societal context of Puritan New England, became easy targets for a community besieged by fear and searching for scapegoats. Tituba's confession, likely coerced through physical violence and psychological pressure, was particularly pivotal, as it corroborated existing beliefs in an active, malevolent, supernatural conspiracy against the Puritans. The trials rapidly escalated, with more accusations and arrests, spiraling into a catastrophe that affected individuals across various social and economic strata. Among those accused were not only marginalized individuals, but also well-established members of the community. The origins of this mass hysteria can be understood through a lens that considers the socio-political climate of 17th century New England. The colonists lived under the constant threat of Native American attacks, and the rigid Puritan belief system inherently sought to suppress any form of dissent or deviation from established norms. The invisible and insidious nature of witchcraft, as it was believed to be, provided a tangible focal point for the myriad fears and tensions pervading the society. Additionally, underlying social and economic tensions further catalyzed the chaos. Salem Village, being an agrarian community, was experiencing internal discord related to issues such as land ownership and grazing rights. Meanwhile, nearby Salem town was becoming increasingly prosperous and cosmopolitan, fostering jealousy and rivalry. The strain between the burgeoning economic modernity of the town and the traditional agriculture-centered lifestyle of the village may have intensified existing animosities and created a fertile ground for scapegoating and mass hysteria. Legal proceedings during the Salem Witch Trials were characterized by a pervasive disregard for due process and a reliance on highly dubious evidence. The spectral evidence, or testimony about dreams and visions that depicted the accused engaging in witchcraft, was considered legitimate. Such reliance on intangible and subjective evidence opened the floodgates for rampant accusations, as virtually anyone could be implicated without the need for physical proof. The individuals accused of witchcraft were subjected to intense and often brutal interrogations, with refusal to confess seen as an admission of guilt. Those who did confess were often coerced into implicating others, perpetuating a vicious cycle of accusation and retribution. The trials culminated in the execution of 14 women and 6 men, while several others died in jail awaiting trial. From the tense atmosphere of 1692 Salem to the hyper-connected global environment of the 21st century, society has witnessed how fear, misinformation, and social polarization can gestate belief systems that perpetuate divisiveness and paranoia. The Salem Witch Trials and the QAnon movement, though temporally and contextually disparate, echo striking parallels concerning mass hysteria, scapegoating, and the generation of fear-based social phenomena. The Salem Witch Trials occurred in a period where religious dogma and belief in the supernatural were intrinsic to societal norms, underpinning explanations for misfortune and calamity. Conversely, the QAnon movement emerged in a digital era, navigating through a myriad of legitimate and illegitimate information streams online. While Salem was physically isolated, QAnon thrives in virtual global connectivity. Yet despite these differing contexts, both manifest a tendency to create in-groups and out-groups, fostering an us versus them mentality. In Salem, witches became the embodiment of all societal ills and misfortunes, representing malevolent forces acting against the common good. Accusations and trials surged as means to purge the perceived evil from their midst. Similarly, QAnon, albeit not religious, but also adopted by many evangelical Christians, introduces a conspiracy where malevolent actors, often political figures and celebrities, are believed to be part of a secret cabal, engaging in malefic activities. Both scenarios exemplify how a collective entity, whether witches or a secret society, becomes a target, onto which fears, uncertainties, and unexplained phenomena are projected. Fear is a potent thread that intertwines the narratives of Salem and QAnon. In Salem, fear of the unknown, bolstered by religious belief, catalyzed mass hysteria, leading to a cascade of trials and executions. Within QAnon, fear of covert control and loss of personal liberties fertilizes ground for the propagation of elaborate, unfounded theories. Both utilize fear as a mechanism to validate and perpetuate their respective belief systems, leading to irrational behaviors and the demonization of perceived enemies. Both instances also showcase how belief systems shape and are shaped by community and identity. In Salem, one's alignment with the fervent pursuit to extinguish witchcraft was synonymous with religious and moral duty. Within QAnon, adherents find community and identity through shared beliefs and a perceived collective awareness, often reinforced through online echo chambers. In both cases, individuals may experience social, psychological, and even moral pressure to conform to prevailing ideologies and actions, further entrenching the pervasive beliefs within respective communities. The consequences of the aforementioned are both broad and deeply consequential. In Salem, accusations of witchcraft predominantly targeted women, especially those who defied societal norms, unleashing a wave of persecution and suffering upon them. QAnon's accusations often target public figures without substantiation, subjecting them to harassment and damaging public perception. In both, the accused become victims within a narrative that rarely affords them a credible platform for defense, consequently perpetuating cycles of victimization and persecution. How do such wild and outlandish accusations gain so much traction? The answer is simple. People with authority and power gave it validity. As a respected part of the magistrate, Deputy Governor Thomas Danforth would act as one of the magistrates who would oversee the proceedings. Danforth, having the authority to discredit the claims, instead went back home to Boston and spread the news of Salem having witches. And this is exactly what happened with QAnon. Instead of stamping it out as an obviously stupid and not even that clever of a joke, certain authorities and people in power gave it credence. And now we have multiple people in Congress who have all the sense and mentality of a true believing 17th century witchfinder. While separated by centuries, the Salem Witch Trials and the QAnon movement offer a poignant reflection of humanity's susceptibility to fear-driven beliefs and actions, revealing the dark potentials that emerge when unfounded narratives are permitted to shape social and individual realities. As society advances, understanding the underlying psychological and social mechanisms that have historically resulted in such phenomena is paramount in mitigating their recurrence in new, contextually adapted forms. Thus, traversing through the parallel pathways of Salem and QAnon, society is prompted to reflect, learn, and guard against the repetition of historical patterns of persecution and conspiracy in contemporary and future contexts. So what's your opinion on the Salem Witch Trials and QAnon? Do you believe any of the conspiracies? Please tell us in the comment section below, and remember to like and subscribe if you like learning about our strange history.